on our revenue. They would take portions of local revenue. We never know when that's going to happen based on the state of the local economy, of the state economy. I say looming recession, it's something that we always want to be aware of. That's one of the reasons you have those contingency reserves. We've had stable, sustained growth for several years. We all know the economy is cyclical, so I think we all have to be cognizant of the fact that we could be entering a recessionary climate. And then litigation, we've all talked about that exhaustively. Okay, that was my external threats. This is stuff that we largely can't control. Let's talk about local issues. I highlighted 3. Managing development. This town has, for a small town, more proposed development than most comparable cities. Okay, so it's something that council is going to have to be very strategic about. There's going to be a lot of decisions in front of this council in the next year or 2. Parking. Everyone complains about parking. Talk about that. Street conditions. It is serious. One of the speakers earlier mentioned, a couple of speakers mentioned, as a second tier. I would put that as a top tier, and I'll explain why. Okay, managing development. First of all, just so you know, these are not approved projects, but they are projects under consideration. Okay, so we talked about the hotels, the River Street project. The hotels are basically the only things on here that have been approved by the city. You have Vermeulen and the River Street project. The council initiated a code amendment study on that. It's going through the planning commission study process. It's going to come back to the council. You have an exclusive negotiating agreement with Frontier, which is a developer for the Mission Grill site. You have, nothing's been approved. That's just that essentially is an agreement that says, hey, we're going to work with this particular developer to come up with a plan. It'll come back to the city for further study, potentially a development agreement. The city owns 2 parcels right next to the Mission Grill that are by themselves independently are not developable. That's why it makes sense to do an exclusive arrangement with the adjacent property owner. The city owns, we talked about the Lower Roseanne piece and the downtown where the Playhouse is right now. You know where those are in the process, but look at your downtown. You have the ability to transform downtown. A lot of people love downtown just the way it is. But are all these projects going to happen? I don't know. That's going to be up to the council. That's going to be up to the community. But it does present concerns because obviously we want to make sure that whatever the council and the community do are compatible with the neighborhoods, but also even just from a phasing standpoint, we wouldn't want construction to all be going on at the same time. We know about construction impacts, traffic impacts, air quality. Let's say these or some version of these did occur. If those were all happening, you think the parking's bad now, wait until you have 5 construction sites or 2 construction sites in the downtown. So what we've done internally is we have a bi-weekly meeting of some of my key management staff. So it's Charlie View, who's basically our special projects manager now, has a development services background. Joel Rojas, our planning director. Steve May, our public works director. Ken, our finance director. Jacob, our assistant city manager. We call it our development working group. We get together every 2 weeks. We look at everything that's going on and try to strategize about how we can best plan and prepare for this. Parking. Okay, good news, bad news. Good news, you're a destination city. People want to be here. If you don't have any parking problems, it probably means your local economy is in trouble. Everywhere that has a real downtown, which all of the South County cities want. They want what you have because of history. They can't recreate that. San Juan doesn't have a beige mini mall on every corner. Okay, we have a true downtown. The downside is it wasn't master planned like Irvine and Mission Viejo, where the streets are wide enough and there's plenty of parking, and a lot of this you wouldn't typically have the Mission right next to another church, right? Yeah, so, but Scholar Sarah didn't think about it. So we have parking problems. We do have some opportunities coming up. We're working with the school district to look at San Juan Elementary, whether we can reconfigure some things, add parking there. I talked about at the Mission Grill site, there's a proposal to put a deck over the existing multimodal lot. And then also with the downtown property, the former redevelopment property, a lot of the proposals include some type of parking element, and likely staff will likely be recommending that be included in what the council considers on that site. Okay, street conditions. These are just a couple of photos of your local streets and roads. It's gotten worse because of the rain. Our pavement index, so there's basically a quantifiable way that you measure the quality of your pavement, is lower than the other South County cities. Something we want to address. The challenge The challenge, Patty. Patty's been great. She's really helped us with all the room setup and all the coordination. Okay, we can't, street maintenance, believe it or not, is very expensive. Okay, it's one thing to go out and what they call put a cold patch when you have a pothole, just so the next person who comes on, doesn't break their axle. You'll see our guys doing that. We can do that. It's another thing to reconstruct a street. The problem is that there is a cost to waiting, because instead of being able to just resurface your streets every 7 years and maintain their overall structural integrity, if you wait, the street fails. And then when you go to do a resurfacing project, it doesn't work. It doesn't take. You have to completely dig out and install the pavement base and the aggregate and slurry, and it's much more expensive. So the more we wait, the more it's going to cost in the long run. I mentioned earlier that we added about $600,000 a year to what we spend on street maintenance. We were spending about $1 million, now we're maybe at $1.5 million, $1.6 million. Ideally, we would be spending more like $3.5 or $4 million to get to where we want to be. We don't have that money now. We won't have it next year, and you probably won't have it for the next few years. So, the council's going to have options. We can kind of hobble along, prioritize, handle this is where it gets complicated. Do you handle the worst issues first? Or, when you're doing that, then the areas that aren't having that much problems right now, they further deteriorate, and then you lose them, and they're going to be more expensive. Or do you let the bad ones go and just figure when we have money, we'll do a full reconstruction and save the ones that are still savable? It's not me. I don't have an easy answer for it. I have been working with Steve May, our Public Works Director, our Finance Director Ken, and a financial advisor to come up with some options. And one of the things I would like the council to entertain, or I would like direction from the council today, is whether they would want staff to bring back some options at a future council meeting to look at financing. The advantage of that, we have a very strong general fund, we have a strong bond rating, it's a low interest rate climate, so the cost of that money is cheap. You can get money up front. We get maybe $9, $10 million. That would put a significant dent. It wouldn't solve our problem, but it would get us through to where, I think you'd see a measurable improvement. And there's other things we can do. But we haven't really spent a lot of time looking at that. We don't have direction to do that. So certainly that would be something that I would encourage council to discuss today. Opportunities. We're San Juan Capistrano. People want to be here. We have history. We have identity. We have diversity. We have 50 people to show up on a Friday morning to talk about, council priorities. It's not like that in other cities. For any of my staff that have worked there, maybe you get 4 or 5 people. So just the fact that, this town has character is something that we really need to embrace, celebrate. Clearly, developers want to be here. Developers aren't knocking on the doors of all these other cities to do these projects. There's a reason they're here. Businesses want to be here. And in the last few months, we've had several businesses. Here's a picture of some of our council members at a grand opening for Ellie's Table. We have a Trader Joe's that's moving forward in the process. At the former Big Lots site. That's great. I think that's going to revitalize that center. It's going to generate some income. I think we're all excited about that. Trevor on the Tracks is going to open up soon. We've been working closely with him. Everyone's laughing. They're going to open. And then, the new commercial development. Again, these projects haven't been approved, but we are studying several projects right now. Those have the ability not just to generate revenue, but to increase investment in the community, create jobs, and overall, stimulate the downtown. Okay, my recommendation is just to kind of wrap this up. There's a lot of work to be done. So as the council considers its priorities for the next year, the next couple of years, I would really emphasize you have a sizable work plan right now. I hope I've been able to convey that the city is making very good progress because of your leadership, because of your ability to focus on those priorities. But I think we're able to take 2 or 3 off the list. These are long-term things. These don't happen overnight. We work in a highly regulatory environment. This is not a private business. Public input is involved. We're not profit-driven. We're driven by serving the community, so they do take time. So there's a lot to be done here. I would really encourage you to advance the current priorities. However, if there are things that I mentioned this morning that you no longer want to work on, and there's consensus among the council, I need to know that, because we're spending city money and staff time on that. So if you tell me, hey, Ben, I don't want to do this, that's a waste of time. I'd rather dedicate those resources to either something else that's already on the work plan or something new. This would be the appropriate format to provide that direction. 3, the city needs additional revenue. I'll tell you why we need additional revenue. Because our costs will continue to go up, okay? We talked about our costs of policing, our costs with contractors, our cost of healthcare, our pension liability. This is not San Juan, this is everywhere. Our costs are going up. We have basically cut to the bone in San Juan. So you have 2 sides of the ledger. You have the expenditure side, you have the revenue side. You can either cut expenditures or raise revenue. My opinion is that you have minimal ability to cut expenditures other than starting to cut staff or not fill vacant positions, okay? There is a trade-off in terms of the services provided to the community, okay? So why do I think you need additional revenue? I think you need additional revenue in the next couple of years just to maintain the level of service you have right now, okay? We can't, I showed a chart last year that showed a structural budget deficit starting in 18-19. I still believe that to be true. I am not convinced that sales tax and property tax revenue, that's a conservative outlook, but I'm not convinced that they will be sufficient to keep up with our increasing expenditures, and that's maintaining the current level of service. Well, why do you need additional revenue? If you want to expand service, if you want to provide an additional deputy on the street, if you want to have a deputy, a downtown beat cop that walks around, gets to know the businesses, deters crime, if you want to add another code enforcement officer to look at issues with different businesses, to work with the business community, if you want to increase the number of community events, improve your parks, if you want to open new parks, Northwest Open Space, Skate Park, those have to be maintained. Right now, we have funding to build those parks. I don't know if we have funding to maintain those parks. So when we get to a point to issue a construction contract, I will be saying to the city council, if I don't feel confident that you have the money to maintain them, my recommendation will be don't move forward with construction. Keep the plans on a shelf, they're ready to bid. Okay, you can always do that. But bringing new things online, take new revenue. What's nice I talked about Dana Point and Laguna Beach, they have a ton of money. If you look at their ratio of officers, police officers to the community, if you look at the events and the community services they put on, they are able to just, turn that money back to the community, and you really see the difference. So I would highly recommend that you seriously consider the impact of revenues when you make decisions on projects and programs going forward. Obviously, there's a balance there. And stay focused. There's a lot going on in this town, and we all see it. But to the extent that we can focus on the priorities, whatever work plan you agree to, maybe it's substantively similar to what you agreed to last year, moving it forward. Maybe it's a new work plan, maybe it's a modified work plan. It is really important to focus on that. There will be issues that none of us expect, I promise you, that are going to come up over the next year. We're going to have to address those. There's going to be an emergency, there's going to be a disaster, maybe there's a flood, maybe there's an earthquake. But everyone has other projects. I know council members, you hear from your constituents about things they want to achieve. This is a chance to prioritize that. And certainly as staff, we're going to do everything we can to accommodate as much into our work plan as possible. And that concludes my presentation. I really appreciate your time, and thanks again.
If anybody is planning on having lunch out there, you need to go up to the front of the house where the hostess is and be seated by her. Do not grab tables in the bar, please. We only have one person in the bar working, and if she gets slammed, there will be people that will not get their lunch for a very long time.
How much time do we have for lunch? What's the break? Not breaking for it. Oh, we're not. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cesar. That was very well done. Moving on to council priorities and ideas.
Facing you.
Because keeping a list of good ideas for future reference is really important. If you stop imagining, you stop looking ahead, you find that things catch up to you, they'll be there. So it's important to look ahead. So again, Councilman Reed, may I ask you to begin? And before you begin, the way that I'd like to do this is to break this up into some categories in terms of things that go on in town. One being traffic, transportation, and parking. One being public safety. So these would be different charts. No. Different charts. Yeah, so let's do a chart for public safety. And one for infrastructure. And one for development. It'll just help to organize the ideas a little bit so they can be discussed more easily. All right, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll just let the city manager figure out what category. I'm probably a little bit more boring in my head because I tend to focus on the basic things. So I have my list of priorities, and I have 3 things that are, I call pick the opportunity arises, aka pick someone wins the lottery and donate with that category. So the first thing I have, these are prioritized by number, but I just have listed here. Under priorities, is one is to maintain a truly balanced budget that is conservative, and I think staff is doing that. And what I mean by that is we obviously have issues that arise, for example, the sheriff's department increase in cost, reduction in sales tax that came up about, I say this every year, but really when we have our budget, when we do our planning, is to be as fiscally conservative as possible. We can always spend more, but sometimes we have to jam when we don't have the revenue we anticipated. The next one is continue getting projects through efficiently. You want me to switch? Yeah. Okay, I saw this. Sorry guys. Like I say, sometimes hearing me isn't necessarily a good thing, but we'll consider that for us. The second item I have is to continue getting projects through efficiently and fairly. And what I mean by that is quickly and to treat everyone equally and don't cut corners. This is something that's been always very important to me, is that we are able to not cut corners, but to get decisions for projects. Whether you like the project or don't like the project, to get through the process as quickly as we can and get it before the council and the residents. And I use the example of the hotels. I thought staff did a fantastic job getting those done at record speed in order for us to make the decision. And with all the projects coming up, I want to make sure we keep that really efficient work projects moving forward. The next thing I have, sort of been discussed, is get out of the water business. I know there's been a lot of constructive criticism about the water fund. To me, that's frankly further evidence why we need to get out of the water business. And I know that's always been a priority the past couple of years. And I want to make sure that remains. The next one is to bring a resolution to the writing part. Whatever that resolution is, it really is a priority for financial reasons, for legal reasons. And I know staff's working on that. Council's been addressing it on a number of occasions. So I'm hoping we can do that within our first 6 months. But that's something that we need to resolve. I then have sell and ensure development of the successor agency properties. Again, we've already discussed that. Not yet. I suppose. But that's, again, a priority. It's something I think the residents are very interested in and excited about as RV. There's a lot of opportunity there for really extending downtown, for extending development, revenue, bringing services to residents and visitors alike. And then the last one I have, again, sort of mentioned, is a new and improved website that will also help facilitate transparency and communication with residents. And I'm not just saying that because the clerk's holding my microphone. That's something I've been advocating for a while. Now, I have 3 more that fall into that other category. If opportunity arises. Now, the first one, I almost can't believe I'm saying it, but I want to explain it, and that's a new city hall. I want to begin by saying I don't want to buy a new city hall. I do not want to spend money. But I would like to have staff keep their eyes and ears open for opportunities, for offers that might come up, whether it be part of a mitigation to a development, some new ideas, and hey, have you thought about that? I think everyone agrees that our temporary city hall, it's now, 50 years old?
We're the only city hall in Orange County with a license plate on back.
Right. And so there's been some talk about some locations and some very creative ideas. So again, it's not something I'm prepared to go out and buy a property and spend $10 million, but I don't want to miss an opportunity if something comes up. So